Coach, this program is built around the concept of success never rests. On your worst day, be good. On your best day, be great. And on every other day, get better. Coach Zihlman, it's a pleasure to have you with me today. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Getting ready to start another season and another year at Bishop Lynch. Look forward to getting to know you better, learning more about yourself, what makes you tick, and how it all got started. I think I can probably go back to 20 years of being in the Metroplex, not really knowing you, but knowing of you and what you had going on at Bishop Lynch. High school basketball girls coach in particular, 27 state titles, 1,071 career wins. So that tells me something early on in life. Led Coach Zihlman, influenced you to be driven and passionate about what you're doing. So I want to see if you could just take a few minutes, tell me a little bit about where you grew up,
Sure.
And how you feel those, instances led to, these personality traits of success that obviously I think you have.
Well, basically, I grew up in Richardson,
Okay.
and my parents are both Dallas natives, and they both grew up going to private schools themselves. My dad went to Dallas Jesuit, and my mother went to a school called St. Edward's, which is no longer there. It's an all-girls school. It was off of Haskell.
Okay.
So they instilled in us at an early age about Catholic education, and so we were blessed to. We went to St. Paul's in Richardson. It actually lived right down the street from us, and then I actually went to Bishop Lynch.
Okay.
And so I grew up always loving sports and playing, as any kid does, plays a little bit of everything, and got into coaching and actually coaching at St. Paul's there for a couple of years, and then the AD at Lynch asked me like me come over and help him with freshman football, and that's it. So I was doing that while I was commuting back and forth to school. I was going to East Texas State at the time.
Okay.
And so that was, when you're young, you don't know any, you just kind of enjoy it. And so I was doing that. And actually, my first year to coach basketball at Lynch, I had a freshman boys basketball team. We went 0-21, didn't win a game. And so I thought, well, my basketball career is over. I'm just stick with football and maybe something else. And lo and behold, they said, we need you to be the assistant girls basketball. I said, well, girl. But they'd already been pretty good. So I said, well, okay, I'll try that. And I learned under a guy named Mike Stevenson, who had a pretty good career there. And he went on to Lake Collins and South Oak Cliff. And then unfortunately was killed in a car accident coming back from the Duncanville tournament, actually. And so, but when he left, he recommended me for the job. And so, so that was back in 1980. And so I said, well, I got to get to work learning some of this, a little bit about this game. So I started asking my friends, and then I got to meet, Donna Capps, who she was coaching at North Mesquite, and got to meet her because I knew she coached it, and her sister was good friends with my wife, and they had gone to college together. So she started helping me out a lot, and we started doing open gyms together, during the summer. And so I really look back to a lot of those people who helped me in those early days, and even like Coach Meadows from Duncanville helped me a lot, just on how to put the program together. And so anyway, I was just really blessed with some of those quality people. And then our boys basketball coach helped me a lot. I learned a lot of my fundamental stuff and drills I still do today from him.
Okay.
And he's from Chicago, Midwestern guy, so he was kind of, this is the way you do it, and I still love some of those drills that we do today.
It's work. Coming Chicago, probably a tough nose type of coach and defensive minded and things of that nature. So you started off as a football coach, and do you remember when you knew coaching was kind of your path? And
when I started at the elementary school, Catholic school in Richardson, St. Paul's, and so my old football coach was coaching there, so I helped with football, and then I started coaching just about everything because I was the PE teacher, even though I wasn't certified, but the nun there said, I need you to, she knew me, and kind of, so I did a little bit of everything, and I was just very eager to learn, and so right then I knew that's what I wanted to do. So when I went to school and finished up, I said, that's what I want to do. So I got my degree in education and social studies and health and PE, like a lot of coaches do, and then I finished up getting my master's in mid-management, became administrator and all that. Okay. But so anyway, you get. I guess it's in your blood. And quick story: my son started out in he went to A&M, started out in poultry science of all things. And so he went to work for Tyson Chicken and was miserable. Moved back to Dallas, went to work for Target here in Frisco, actually. And he said, Dad, I want to coach.
Yeah.
And he's now coaching down in Beaumont. He was at Westbrook High, which is a powerhouse.
Yeah.
And he just took a new job at Bridge City. When the new head coach there worked under Todd Dodge at Austin Westlake.
Okay.
So they're having to rebuild that program. But it was in his blood, and he's just like me. He'd been around coaching and athletics all his life.
Yeah.
And so I think you just know.
Yeah.
And once you start working with kids and start developing and see their faces when they have some success, that just kind of turns you on too.
Yeah, I know. Personally, I knew I wanted to coach when I was in 7th or 8th grade and, pursued it from that point. Well, Coach, you spent the last, 42 years, you're getting ready to start your 42nd year, or actually 45 years at Bishop Lynch, 42 years as the head coach. You've had 40 playoff appearances, 35 district championships, and you've reached the state tournament 36 times, and you've won it 27. So first, what's compelled you to stay at one spot for so long? Because I know when I read these numbers off, you've had plenty of opportunities outside of Bishop Lynch to further your career. So what's compelled you to stay at Bishop Lynch for so long?
There were several factors. For one, I got into administration. So I was the dean of students. I became the dean of students, I think, in '85. So I was in administration, so my salary started getting, and then after that I became the athletic director. So when I started looking at some other potential schools, and I was really doing pretty well financially to trying to move someplace else, or so I talked to my wife, and then we had our 3 children, because I had been worked there for 10 years or more, got to go to school there free.
Okay.
So they get to, we were blessed with them getting that free education. Now, my oldest daughter, we had to pay half price for that one. That's before but anyway. But I get asked this question quite often, actually. Why haven't you? And I said, some, maybe it's just because of my age or my background. It's just I've enjoyed where I have, gone through difficulties, of course. But the number one reason is being able to share your faith with the kids. And to me, that is it's the number one thing with me. I'm not an angel, and I'm perfect by any means. But when I say share my faith, I mean they share their faith as well.
Yes. And
it's so special to have that as part of your program. We pray after every practice, and we rotate around and let each girl and just from the heart, not a memorized prayer, and it's just neat how we'll pray for different people in the area, pray for relief of the COVID, pray for somebody that's struggling, and so it's just, for me, it's so special to see these girls pray from their heart. And so I knew if I went into public school, it was going to be difficult trying to do that.
Yeah.
And I did have a number of different offers and opportunities.
I'm sure.
But when I talked with my wife, I said, I think the Lord wants me to stay here, and I think that's what I'm going to do. And every time, I think about I'm going to go someplace else, because you get frustrated,
Yes.
But then because you're not, when you're not the AD anymore, you don't have as much input. So with that being said, I still enjoy there. I love the kids, and I love our families, and I love the school, and it's a great place. And so with that being said, that's why I've remained there, and I will finish. I'm sure I'll finish my coaching career there anyway. And so
well, I think
that's it for me.
Well, I think that's I love that that's your answer, is that you can share your faith with the kids, and you can actually live your faith during your job. I've interviewed a lot of coaches in this little series, and I've talked to Jeff Clarkson, that's at Prestonwood, very close friend of mine, very, probably one of the strongest Christians I know.
Right.
And, so I was interested to find out what it was like for him going from Plano East to Prestonwood, and now being able to live his faith.
Absolutely.
Where you can't
You'll
live
love
it in the. So I love the fact that's what your answer was on that. What do you feel the brand and culture of your program at Bishop Lynch is?
Well, I think our tradition has shown that we're very competitive. We play. We're going to play anybody. We're playing DeSoto this year, defending 6A state champion. we played them last year and played them pretty well for a while.
Yeah.
Until they're when they replace a 6'5" with another 6'5", then you kind of know.
Yeah,
it
makes
struggle with
makes
your little
hard.
5'8" and 5'9" girls, but I think our brand is just to really, I don't know if it's really a brand, but it's just and the girls love this that to play a high level competition.
Yeah.
And to be able to be at our best by playing that level prepares us for Dixers in our playoffs, and the private schools actually have gotten pretty strong over the years, and we over the years we have beaten some 6A state champions. We beat San Marlo and Mansfield when they won 4 in a row. We beat them 2 of those 4 years.
Yeah.
And so and we beat Duncanville 1 year now. They weren't the state champion, but they were in the Final Four. But so anyway, I those are some of the girls love those games because you're playing the best in the state.
Yeah.
And if you can compete with them, and so just like playing in the Duncanville tournament, playing some state champions from all over the country.
Yeah.
So and I think that's what we do. We're not going to back down, even though we're not going to be as strong as some of those teams. We know we might take a licking every once in a while, but we're going to learn from it, and I think that's been important for me anyway as a coach, and when I schedule, trying to schedule that way.
Yeah. Well, I think there's nothing to be ashamed of having a brand or a culture of going out and playing the best. I mean, that's a pretty good brand to have, in my opinion. Coach Zihlman, many of your players go on to play at the next level. Some of them even go on to play levels beyond that. So that tells me you do a great job at player development, or these kids wouldn't get the attention and things. Part of that is, we talked earlier, USA basketball is coming in, and I know you're always putting your kids in skill development situations. So when it comes to player development, where do you start personally with the kid?
Well, now that I've become mature, as I said, in my coaching, I have a phenomenal staff. In fact, I've had college coaches come in and basically say, you have a college staff.
Yeah.
Got a guy named Paul Gardner. He was a former coach himself at North Mesquite, California, and he retired, and then I got him on, and he's teaching math. And then Delane Taylor has been with me for 22 years. She played in North Texas. Another girl named Jerry Cooper, who played at University of Houston and Mesquite High, and then with Phoenix in the WNBA for a couple of years. And then one of my favorites is a young coach I got now. She's our freshman coach, but she's just so skilled and great with the kids. So I learned so much from them. And now, when we meet about what we're going to do, each day for practice, and they come up with some of the best skill stuff and drill stuff from, and then when we get into season, Paul is really good about when we watching films about breaking down our opponent to develop our offensive scheme based on who we're playing and what we need to adjust. So we'll make drills according to who we're going to play each week. And so I've really enjoyed actually learning that part of it, how to break things down and prepare. Because in the old days, you didn't prepare except for maybe district games. You may be called ahead and try to find something, who are their key personnels. But now we really, almost every game, we're prepared pretty well. And so I really attest that to my coaches. Okay. So the skill level is just simple. I mean, when I go and watch college practices, they're fundamental. They're doing fundamental stuff. I mean, they're working on ball handling. They're working on using their left hand. They're working on, how to get the elbow up on the shot and trying to break some bad habits they had in high school. So I said, I've even watched the Mavericks practice they're the same thing. They're doing fundamental stuff, you know. And so you look at some of the great players of all time, and they'll tell you, from Michael Jordan to, Stephon Curry to even the greatest women's players, how fundamentals and ball handling and repetition, the gym shooting is key. And so that for us, that for me is just simple fundamentals. We do full court ball handling drills and from layups to how to come off screens and shoot, every little thing that impacts the game. Because sometimes, when they're playing in 7th and 8th grade, they might be a good little player, but they haven't learned to really evolve how to play the next level. So.
Yeah, by the time they get to you at Bishop Lynch, the competition you're playing against, they've got to have other skills than what they came in as even a freshman.
Some of them do, but there's some that are just still got to be refined. So we were talking about this the other day about some of the kids. We got a couple of pretty good freshmen, but you definitely don't want to put a freshman up and she's not going to play and not ready yet, and then destroy confidence.
Yeah, crush it.
Yeah. So.
And that's my next part of this question is how much do you feel in the skills? How much do you feel is physical, and how much do you feel is mental?
Well, you know what? Again, as I've matured in my years, mental is so big, and just on the confidence level.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a couple of junior girls that will be varsity players, and they're good little players, but I'm going to spend so much time just building their confidence.
Yeah.
You know, saying you can play, but you've got to learn how to. Sometimes you have to adjust your game, and so they got to have the physical tools. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And the way they do that is they got to work on that, and they got to work on that year round. I mean, they got to work on their own.
Yeah.
So I don't care if you're working in your backyard, working on shooting and working. I mean, the things we teach you. But you got to get in there, and then you got to compete with AAU a little bit. With, a lot of times it's just practicing in games, and so sometimes they lose out on the fundamental part. So anyway, so that's why when we come back in school, that's one of the first things we do is go back to the fundamentals.
Gotcha.
Ball handling, shooting, footwork. Do a lot of footwork stuff. So, and then the one thing which they all don't work on is their defense.
Yeah.
So teaching them how to play good defense and team defense, and not just kind of chase the girl. And
that's more desire than even skill, I think.
Yeah, it is, and it's they come, even seniors in high school still don't. So.
Okay. Just real quick, I saw a big improvement in girls' skills just in the 10 years I was in girls' basketball. What would you say has changed the most in girls' skills over the last?
Well, I think we're getting some really good coaches now, and people are learning, and some good trainers. I mean, Gannon Baker is a good example. Tyler Ralph. Those guys are great trainers if you get in with them. But people are learning from them too about the skills of the game. Sometimes I worry about our track coach has a good saying, tells our kids is because he does all the strength conditioning in the summer, that sometimes they play way too many games in the summer and they're not developing their skill or developing their body. They're not training, and that's where you see too many injuries. So, but for the skill development, I think those are taken and are going to a skilled coach that knows what they're doing, that's helping them with becoming better shooters, better ball handlers, understanding the game, and even taking it to another level. And there's some good ones out there, and there's some that you got to be careful about too. But and so I always tell me, if you're going to a skills coach, just kind of keep me apprised of what you're doing there, so it doesn't contradict what we're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. Coach Zihlman, I know you have some players that are going to move on to the Division I level. Some going to probably go to the Division II. And then I know you have a slew of kids that come to Bishop Lynch for the school experience, and they come there for the basketball and the experience, not necessarily thinking they're going to go be a doctor. That's what they're going to start off their freshman year of college. So I guess my question is, how do you make everyone in that situation feel a part of the big picture? Because I know you have to do that in order to have the success that you've had. So how do you get everybody to buy in and understand all of that?
Well, especially all those kids that aren't maybe the D1 kids, or they are the core of your program.
Yeah.
And, and whether they're great in practice and they're getting a little time here, and so you try to reward them as long as they're working hard. And that's what I tell them day one. As long as you work hard and you'll play defense, you'll play. You don't have to be the best scorer or have the best ball handling, but as long as you don't turn the ball over, and you're going to play good defense and you're going to play hard, you'll play. And so we try to make them say, we're all of you are very important. Yeah, there are some players who are going to score a few more points and maybe the better players, but they can't be that way without the rest of you. And not only the rest of you in games, but the rest of you challenging each other in practice. When I was blessed to have India Rogers, who was probably the best player I ever had, sometimes I'd have to get on to her about going harder, and she would kind of say, and I knew the rest of the players weren't her level. I said, but if you want them to even get close to your level, but to help you in the games, you got to go hard to challenge them.
Yeah.
And so she got better with that, especially her senior year. But I think it's important that you make them, including the managers. The managers have to know how important they are not just for games, but during practices or what else you need them to help you with your program. And so when we have girls that we have, I always get teased about how many managers I have, but we really don't turn anybody down if they want to be. And sometimes there are players that just didn't make it or chose not to play anymore and said, I want to. And those are the best kind because they know a little bit about the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I really, you love to have them from freshman year on. I learned a little bit. Gary Blair told me what they're doing now at A&M. They don't have GAs anymore. What they do is they hire managers from their freshman year and try to get them committed for those 4 years. So they're doing more and more responsibilities like a GA might do.
Yes.
And they pay them like they do. Most college managers get paid a certain stipend and help with the books and fees. But I think we're seeing more and more of that in the college level. And so to me, the managers are really important. I make them feel important. We include them in everything that we do in our program.
Yeah.
From the team meals to everything we do. And they actually become really good friends with each other. So that's important to me to build that culture. So they get into the game. They're excited about. Some of the managers I had to back up in our state game when we played the Village School, and they were definitely the dominant team. They had 4 D1 players on that team. The Malone kid is going to A&M, and I got a deep. We knew we had a hard time matching up with him, so I saw what Bob Starkey did at A&M against LSU with that matchup zone against not LSU against South Carolina, and I said, so we implemented a little bit of that, and we kind of frustrated them, slowed them down, and we scored 28 points in the first 3 quarters of that game, and then 28 in the fourth.
Wow.
We won by 10. And so we wore them down, number one, and we frustrated them, and they had a 5-point lead at the end of the third, and we just got after them and started executing, and they just kept trying to shoot threes. I said, let them shoot them.
Let them shoot them.
Let them shoot them, just block them out. And it paid off for us. So and that's the other part of it, as you know, in coaching, is developing a game plan, and they buy into it.
Yeah.
And then they execute it. And so when you can execute a game plan that you work, and this year it worked kind of good because usually state, the semifinal game is one night and the state championship is well, this year because of COVID, we had it 2 different sides, so we had 2 days to prepare. And so I'm probably going to have that again.
Yeah.
So it was especially nice because I knew we were going to be challenged against the Village because they won the year before, and we beat them the year before that when I had India. But it was really a special because we were playing in mask. We played in mask all year long.
Yeah.
And we're probably one of the few schools that did. And so I was really proud of the girls for buying into that game plan. The seniors, really leading the rest of them. So that was really a special, I get asked that is any 1 year, well, not necessarily, but this one was really special.
Yeah.
Because of all that.
Okay. Whenever, you feel someone's not buying in or doesn't understand their role in the big picture, how do you, approach that?
And first of all, you don't want them to feel left out. And want them to understand, like you say, might be the role. But again, you don't want the distractions to the other players. So we pull them aside, and I always have one of my coaches with me, and so what's going on, and try to get how they're feeling, and try to instill in that we care about them, and we're counting on them. But here are the things they have to work on.
Yeah.
And you always get you like such and such better.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I might like her better because she can score.
Because she has this skill, that skill, and that skill.
And she's doing what we're asking her to do. And I said, is that a personal thing? I like her as a basketball player right now.
Yeah.
So if you want to get there, I said, as I told him, I said, if you'll play better defense, I'll play you more. But you don't, that's one area you got to get better at. So we try to sit down with him, and if we see it continues or a manager, then we have to pull them aside and say, hey, what's in your best interest for you and for our team, And very rarely we had to let anybody go in the middle of the season, but we've had a couple that just didn't want to buy into what we're doing.
I can imagine.
I lost a big 6'2" girl. That'll be a junior. It could be really good, but she chose she didn't want to and so be it. She plays softball. That's good, but it was disappointing because you see a kid that size you'd like to have, but that happens. It happens, and you want them to be happy. You can't have disgruntled players out there that aren't happy.
Well, at the end of the day, you want them to be happy, and if they're not happy, the rest of your team's not going
Right.
to be happy. And at the end of the day, it's about the whole team. So
The teams that win, the teams that buy into the program and believe in each other and support the players. And I mean, I've had some players that could care less if they played, just wouldn't be on the team.
yeah, oh yeah,
I had one girl one time in the Allen tournament, and I forgot who we were playing, and we were winning pretty good. And I looked down at the bench, and she's kind of got her phone. So, but lo and behold, our football team was playing in a playoff game down in San Antonio, so she was keeping up with the score.
oh
So I go there and I said, Annie, let's get in the game. She looked at me, she goes, "Are you sure? I'm kind of comfortable here."
I'm kind of comfortable here.
I said, "What's the score of the game, too, by the way?" So I mean, but those kind of kids buy into the culture.
yeah,
And you know, I've been blessed to coach two of my daughters,
Oh,
and so
okay.
that was special. My oldest daughter played on really really good teams, and she never started. In fact, her junior year, she went 6 straight games without playing.
Mm.
So when I got home,
I was gonna say you probably
Mama wasn't too happy. And I tell you who really opened my eyes more to was my assistant coach.
Yeah.
She let me have it the next day. Said, "You're worried about what other parents because it's your daughter."
Oh,
It was
yeah.
my first, and
Mhm.
she really was a pretty good little player. She could shoot. And so, quick story about her. After she graduated from college, she got in some women's league here in Dallas with some of her former players, and she says, "Dad, I really enjoy playing in this adult league." I said, "Well, great." She goes, "One night I had 26 points, and another named 18, and another guy I had 22." And I said, "Colleen, where was that in high school?" And she goes, "On the bench."
on the bench.
And so I said,
That coach would never
Yeah,
put me in,
Yeah,
Dad.
yeah. Her mother is right there going, "Touche, big boy." So it is hard coaching your own kid. No matter, I don't care how good they are. I think
Yeah,
it's but both my daughters got to play on several state championship teams and still have great memories.
Yeah.
Actually, the oldest one played against Tamika Catchings,
Oh, okay. Wow.
and so and I coached Tamika in AAU one summer. So, or maybe supervised, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, does anybody coach that kind of talent?
Yeah, really, really.
All right, Coach, I feel you'd be successful, in any basketball program that you might lead, any business that you might start, or any organization that you would lead. What do you feel is the key to your success personally, and then, as a leader?
I think especially, again, you really do learn so much as you go through your years of your profession, whatever it may be. And for me, it's really become putting, Jesus Christ first. And it's helped me become a better leader, a better person. Again, not being perfect and trying to learn from others. So I think sometimes there's some leaders, and I probably was like that when I was an administrator, when I was athletic director and dean of students, like, this is the way it's going to be, But I think you have to be open-minded to listen to, your coaches, your colleagues, and even your players, and students, about what's the best thing for this entity, for this team, for this school. And I think you have to weigh all those situations and see what do you think is best, and then consulting with the people that work with you, and then kind of make a good informed decision. And those things are going to change every day, I'm sure. But what I've learned to do is try to make people feel important. The players, the coaches. I don't ever want to undermine them. They're very respectful to me, but at the same time, we joke around, we have fun. My coaching staff and our players too. They know we joke around and have fun, but they know when it's time to be serious. And I met with my seniors this year, this summer. We had brunch or breakfast together, and I have 3 of them. And I asked them and they had a simple request: can we play music when we're first coming out with our beginning drills, shooting drills? And I thought about that, because I did it during camps, but sometimes, and I said, I tell you what, I'm going to put that on y'all. I said, first of all, we're going to play clean music.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things, I'll play this together. I said, okay. And yeah, we could try that, but we better be doing what we're supposed to be doing, and not dancing and not talking and not, I love music. And if we have some good music that'll help you, and, she goes, well, we do it at pregame and warm-ups. And I said, that's a good point. So I'm going to take your lead on that. I'm going to leave that up to y'all. And so you have to empower them somewhat, to make them feel a part of the program, and that they have a say And it's not just like do this or else, you know. And
Yeah.
you have to have your rules and your guidelines, but you also try to involve them with that too. So I really believe in empowering our captains and our seniors. Most of my captains are seniors. I just believe in that. I think maybe I had one or two juniors in the past just because we had very few seniors maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I think leadership is based on your foundation of, you know, who you are and what you believe in, but you have to have those people back you. You can't be the dictator in there because they're not going to support you.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, you don't want them fearing you in that way. They know when they need to get working, and
Yeah.
you know, and I rarely have had to raise my voice like I used to in the old days. Sometimes that's just how I was coached, you know.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, now, these are young girls. I don't need to be raising my voice or cussing or anything like that. And so you know, that's where I think I've grown as a leader and as a professional, being more understanding of their needs as well as, you know, our coaches.
Yeah.
And
So you didn't stop growing 42 years ago when you became a head coach.
No, I still
That's
growing,
the level.
still growing. Still love going to TABC and TGCA, and I even go to the WBCA.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of coaches from this area, like Deb Harris
Yeah.
from McKinney.
Mhm.
We go to the national convention, and it's I love it. You get some great stuff, but it's a good way to connect and interact with coaches from all over the countries. Now, you know, the high school thing, there's not as many just because it's so expensive to go.
Yeah, I've been.
So
a few
I'm
times.
on a committee trying to work on that, helping,
Okay.
trying to lower those rates, and we have done somewhat.
Well, that's cool. All right. So, Coach, strictly basketball question, basketball related. You're obviously a great head coach. Every great head coach has great assistants.
Absolutely.
You've already mentioned them, so it's perfect that we get into this. What do you feel first makes a great assistant coach? Not just a good assistant, but there's a lot of good ones. But what makes a great assistant?
Well, one, willing to learn, you know, and putting themselves out there, and by going to conferences or clinics. And I took two of my young coaches. They'd never been to TABC before, so I took them down there, and I mean, they were, you know. I said, you have to be open-minded, because sometimes coaches, you know, will go down there and they'll say, well, we're not going to do this. I said, really listen, because maybe most of the stuff that coach might be talking about, you might not, but there might be one thing they can use. Maybe it's motivational. Maybe it's something with practice. Maybe you know, a little tweak that you can do.
One little tweak to your system.
Your system. Yeah. I said, you know, you learn something, and sometimes you say, hey, what they're talking about, that's what we're doing already. I feel pretty good, you know. So it kind of reassures what you're doing. But willing to learn and listen and be able to go out there, whether it be clinics or conferences or research the internet and find some, and they're good about that. And I've learned from them some of the great drills that especially my young coaches bring back from, like Shannon, my freshman coach, she played at UTD. And so she's got some great drills because she just finished playing, 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, sometimes they come in with some really good stuff. And, and then you gotta, like I said before, you gotta empower them. You gotta give them responsibilities, not just the token responsibilities that you have to do, who's taking care of the film exchange, who's doing, but you know, at practice and at games. Like Delaney, my assistant, she's in charge of inbound plays. So she calls all inbound plays. Now Paul, he sits there with his charts. He's a math guy. He likes to chart, and halftime he'll tell this and that, what we need to, you know, and you know, I pretty much call out the offense and the defense, and but you know, from input from them. They may tell me, hey, let's do what about this? And I said, let's try it. And so my assistant coaches are so important to me, especially now as you know, as you get older, you know, it's easier for you to have people like that. Yeah. And so Paul really puts our practices together, you know, along with Delaney. And I meet with him like the day before. Paul and I talked that morning about what we're going to work on, and they put some things together, what they want to do drill wise. And I said, I need to work on this thing with the press, so I want to work on this for about 15 minutes. And he puts the practice schedule together. Yeah. And then by noon, we all have it, you know. And so, so anyway, we really work well together. You know, all five of us are, you know, help with the varsity, but you know, the others have sub-varsity responsibilities, but and we help with that too. So. I'm really, really blessed with a great staff, and so yeah, I mean I see some of the bigger, you know, 6A public school UIL programs that I have 2 varsity assistants.
Yeah, I don't want to talk
Yeah.
about what my situation
Yeah, I
was
know.
at McKinney North.
Well, and part of that was because I was the athletic director, so I needed
Mhm.
somebody because I was sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I moved Paul up, and then we were just able to fit that in. So
Yeah. Well, that's
we've been
great.
pretty good. Our boys program the same way. He has several varsity assistants, and
At the end of the day, the kids benefit
absolutely
more than anything.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have some great coaches on our staff, on our boys staff too. I mean, Kyle's got some great. He's got Dominique Kirk on his staff, who played at A&M and went to Bryan Adams. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just you got to utilize those people with their skills and their knowledge, and just turn them loose and let them do their thing with the kids. And you're right, the kids benefit from it.
So, as far as advice to young coaches getting started, I guess your advice to them would be to get out to as many clinics, get in front of as many coaches that you can, and just soak up and learn.
And understand not the entitlement thing. That, I just graduated. I played high school and college ball, so I should be, a head coach right away or a varsity, number 1 varsity. You got to pay your dues a little bit.
Yeah, I know. When I came up, I just knew I was starting with the 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th graders, and then I would get the 7th and 8th, and then I might get up to be a varsity coach someday. And now I do. I find the same thing.
Well, they have to be able to be willing to start out at the junior high level. This is where they put and then work their way up by working hard. And I remember the clinic we did when you invited us to come to your clinic at McKinney North, and I gave each of the assistants responsibility of the different drills we're going to do. So I started out in each of them. And that's what we're going to do at USA Basketball. Yeah. I'm going to start out, and each of them we're going to have a drill they're going to demonstrate that they like, that pertains to whatever topic we talk about. And so you empower them. You say, hey, this is your opportunity to shine and show the kids and show the world that you know what you're talking about.
We find ways to leave ourselves vulnerable to our players, and I know that's got to be a big part of what you do, because we have to. The kids, I think, have to see us as human, or the people that's following us, whether we're coaching or leading a real estate team or whatever. They have to see us as human. I know kids could see you not as human right now. I mean, you're getting ready to get inducted into the Texas Hall of Fame, over 1,000 wins. Kids understand that stuff.
Yeah.
So they might not look at you as Coach Zihlman sometimes.
Yeah.
So how do you leave yourself vulnerable so that that relationship stays,
Well, and I think the very thing you said, you're human. So that part of the element, and good examples this year was really, hope I don't get too emotional here, but it had one of my former players, who was my daughter's age, played with her, pass away. Had a brain aneurysm and then led to a stroke, and she has 3 young children. And it was really tough, and her parents are still, and she was the youngest in her family. Her parents are still dealing with it. In fact, my wife and I are trying to meet with her parents about once every 6 weeks just to go to dinner and just. But we decided as a team to have her name LK, which is her initial was Julie Castoris, a patch on her uniform, and so we wore that all year long to honor her. She passed away in December, so from then on, had a alumni donate that, and he put them on for us, and it was just, oh gosh.
Yeah.
So we wore that all year long, and they were really moved by that. And then, so after we finished the season, we're designing our state rings, and the seniors said we'd like to put our initials inside our rings.
Wow.
So I had to step away. So they saw the human side of me being emotional, and they knew how important she was, because not only my daughter, but one of my former players.
Yeah.
And I had to call her parents right away, and I told them, and they couldn't even speak. And then the mom says, "We want to meet these girls."
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, here's a great. We're going to have our banquet in about 3 weeks. How much?" And they go, "What's the date?" And I gave them the date, and they said, "Wow, darn it, we're going to be out of town." I said, "Well, that's okay. There'll be another time when y'all can come up." And so, not 15 minutes later, they called me right back. "We've changed our plans. We want to come."
Oh, wow.
So I had him speak at the banquet, and of course, the dad, he's having the hardest time. And each of those girls came up, and the whole banquet, I was so emotional because of that and how our girls responded to that family.
Yeah.
And, it's really, I'm seeing the same thing with a lot of my colleagues, like Diana Sanger, what she's going through with her cancer, and how her team is responding. by decorating her house and keeping her mode. I just,
It's amazing what
Yeah.
youth, like, I don't know. To me, it's amazing
Oh my
what
God.
some
I
the
mean-
hearts they have sometimes.
oh yeah, and you know how girls are. They see the emotional side, and so that probably keeps me going as far as coaching and
Yeah.
because of that emotional side and the human side of that. Basketball's a game and it's fun and it's an element and an outlet, and some of them can maybe go pay for their college that way. But bottom line, I want them to understand how relationships with each other, and hopefully they can carry some of these relationships, past high school.
Yeah.
That long-lasting friends that they and I know a lot of my former players have those kind of relationships, or come back to the games.
Yeah.
When they come back to your games or invite them to their
Mhm.
wedding or give me an announcement of the birthday, that you had an impact on their lives.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. Is teaching and coaching is so impactful, and people who don't understand that haven't been there, and
Yeah.
so. And that's what we have to do. Winning state championships is nice. It's the gravy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But impacting their lives and having them impact yours is probably no better profession.
Yeah. Well, from being there, dealing with youth, I think that it probably meant as much for you when they put those initials on the
Oh, yeah.
inside of that
Absolutely.
ring as probably all your state championship rings.
Yeah, I know.
Because that
Yeah.
tells you you're doing things right.
Well,
So-
and those parents were so moved by
Yeah.
that, and that's why they had to meet those girls. And so.
All right, we're going to finish up with the Big 12. I'm just going to give you 12 terms here.
It's kind of like a game show. I don't know.
Kinda
how
like
good-
game show.
I don't know how good I am with these game show stuff, but I'll do the best I can.
All right, you just give me the first thought that comes to your mind. So, numero 1. There's not going to be a Big 12 before long, so this
I know.
this might be the Big 12.
Be back to the
in a
Big
year.
8 again.
All right, so number 1, offense.
Spacing,
Spacing. 1-3-1.
trapping,
Full court press.
pressure,
Success.
relationships,
Defense.
pressure,
Motion.
offense,
Adversity.
relationships again,
Talent.
blessed,
Faith.
again blessed,
Relationships.
blessed,
Shooters.
blessed. I'm sorry.
And legacy.
I think that's another. I mean, I use bless a lot. I know I probably overdo it, but
Yeah.
for somebody who was an old football coach and PE teacher, really didn't play. I didn't even play basketball. Only in junior. I didn't even play in high school. I was a football man. So I guess saying that one, it would be just really fortunate.
Gotcha. All right. Coach Zihlman, I appreciate your time
Thank
today.
you for having me. Yes.
This was some great information. Glad to get to know you a little better. And
Yeah. Thank you for
look
having me.
forward to
Yes.
coming out and watching you guys this year.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Okay. Thank you.